Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About Christianity. I'm Keith, and I am here with Pablo and husband face Zach.
I knew you were going to say that, and I knew that's why you were doing the intro. What's that mean, Pablo? What do you mean when you say, Zach, you have a husband face? What does that mean?
You look more mature, and that's what I.
I look more mature. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He also told me that my clothes look better, that my clothes are ironed, and that my hair is different.
So I could translate that as Miranda is turning you into an old man.
You probably could. Yeah. I'm growing old. I'm only 22.
Does she listen to the program?
If she does.
Well, we'll find out this week.
Yeah, if she does, then I'm in trouble. A lot of things I've learned, Pablo. A lot of things I've learned.
No, I know about it.
As you may have suspected, we started recording in the middle of a conversation here, and it needed to be continued, at least in my estimation. But Pablo had just told Zach that he had the face of a husband, and
it was so endearing and loving.
Yes, and we didn't get the part where you were threatening to beat him up when you saw him next, but.
Coming for you, Pablo. I'm coming to Peru. It may take me about 9 hours to get there, but I'm coming.
Oh, okay.
Don't be so optimistic. It'll take much more than 9 hours.
I'll be there on December 1st.
First.
Yep.
Okay, so y'all are going down December 1st. And Zach, what is your plan once you arrive in
Peru?
The La Nación de Peru?
Well, usually when we arrive in Lima on Sunday, we go worship. We'll probably go worship at with Pablo and Callao. And I'll probably end up having to preach. I'll probably be pressured into preaching. And then once we leave there, we will go and head on our way down to Ica. And we'll be there Monday through probably Wednesday, Thursday. And then we will come back home. Friday will be the conference. I speak at 4, if I'm not mistaken. Youth going beyond the frontier. And then we will fly out Friday evening. Be home on Saturday.
Friday evening, you're coming back to the States.
Yep. So that will be the itinerary. That is a makeshift itinerary. I mean, that is not taking into account other things, but that is usually how it goes. Pablo's already got it written down. He already knows what's happening and when it's happening. He is on top of things.
You're making these accusations against Zach, but you have become so much more organized.
He has.
I don't know. Maybe one day, on down the road, Zach and I will be sitting here and we will say, Pablo, you have the face of a husband.
Yeah. I'm becoming, I think.
One day you will have a wife, Pablo. That's what Keith's saying. One day you'll find the right girl.
Yeah, man. And
Keith, what's going on in Saxton?
Oh, wait. Pablo's sitting there being pensive.
Oh.
He's wistfully staring off into the distance. Anyway. What's going on here in Sykeston? With the congregation, we had a funeral this past Friday. Was that Friday? Yeah, that was Friday. We had a teen devo Sunday night. There's something going on this weekend, but I can't remember what. And then
speaking in such broad terms, we did this. I don't really remember what it was. We did that last weekend, and we've got something going on Saturday. But you know what? I don't remember what that is either. And then tonight, I've got to be somewhere at about 6, but I don't remember where I've got to be. Keith, do you remember anything? We
all have our different forms of organization. As long as I remember that. I've got something going on at 6. it'll all be fine. No, it's been very busy the past couple of weeks, and I feel like that I'm just getting caught up from being gone the 2 days to the Better Conference last week. But it's just right now we on top of everything else, because this is what, the 6th of November.
Yes.
And we've got teens forecast for the next couple of days. It's not usually this cold this early, and so we've got everybody's kind of scrambling around getting ready for the cold weather, because normally you don't think about it in November,
Right.
being down in the teens. But so yeah, that's kind of going on. It's like trying to winter on us. And
Pablo, how's everything going in Peru?
Well, last Saturday we have last Friday it was holiday in Peru. Yes, it was holiday in Peru. Had a Bible conference in Santa Anita Church. It's been 130 people there.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, it was bigger than yesterday. Than last year, I mean, yesterday. And from Callao, we've been like 15 people.
Okay.
We've been attending. Very good topics, and also I think Richard Gomez, you know him, Kip.
Yes.
He took that chance to celebrate his 30 years of marriage, of husband.
30 years of marriage.
Yeah, he gave one rose to every lady at the church. It was a good meeting, a good lectureship. I really like it. Yeah,
that's
it's a good thing that it's growing as well.
Kind of, let me. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this to share my. Let me see here.
Keith's getting into technology.
Oh man, yeah. I was gonna try to show the picture that you had sent to me, and put it on here. I'm working on that. So
okay.
Well, here at the Paintsville congregation, we
no, that's not gonna work. Okay, I can't do it. Never mind. Well, it says
technology wins again.
It can't do it. I can't turn that on while we're recording, and so it would have to stop the recording. And so I'll go in and change the system preferences, and we can do that later. But it was an impressive photo. I'll just say that. I will describe it to you. It was a picture with lots of people.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, so
I can really picture it in my mind.
Well, sorry. That's the best I can do. But yeah, it's very encouraging, I'm sure, for the church there at Santa Anita being able to host such an event. And I hope that for the conference that a lot of youth will come out to hear you speak, Zach, because your topic on the conference next month is primarily dealing with youth.
And one of the big things that I've noticed is people will always, when they find out that I'm a preacher, they'll ask me, "How old are you?"
Yeah,
I'm 22. I'm 22. I had a guy yesterday. I went to go vote, and he was sitting in there, and he was talking about the preachers in this area, how a lot of them are becoming a lot younger and younger. And I walked in, and I said, "I preach at the Paintsville Church of Christ." He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 22. He said, "Well, you're by far the youngest." He said, "So it's It's just it's sometimes it can actually be a little bit. I found it can actually be a little bit of a hindrance on my ability to evangelize because people see me as young. People see me as not knowing enough, I guess, or not being qualified enough to be a preacher, and it can be a big hindrance on evangelism from time to time. I've noticed that as well. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to inspire some youth, and hopefully there will be a lot of youth that will show up.
I'm sure that we could find individuals who would say, I've been doing this for so long that now people look at me as being too old to be able to relate.
Yep.
There are likely people who are, for whatever reason, and Pablo, we're not going to get into any of the prejudice comments or anything, but people can always find an excuse not to evangelize. And by the way, I want to say, if you get the emails from, and I just lost their name, Americans, Jim Fawn wrote an article earlier this week about recruiting versus evangelizing, and it was a fantastic article. I love reading his stuff. Jim does a very, very good job. But I'm not going to go back and redo his article. He can do that on his own, but it does sort of raise the question: are we trying to recruit or are we trying to evangelize? And
Amen.
There is a difference that is there. And I said I wasn't going to redo his article, but
here we go. I knew he was going to do it.
Here we go. Yeah. But we are to some degree in that mindset of we have the demographic in mind that we want to evangelize, but if you are targeting a specific demographic, then that's recruiting.
Yes.
That's not evangelizing.
Yes.
But it's and I understand when you begin evangelizing, you need to have somewhere to start. But what would the church look like if everybody in the church were like me?
That's a good topic.
And I'm saying that not me, but
right.
from each individual. What do you think, Pablo?
Where to start?
Or do you see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going. I think.
I think.
Well,
unless you go off the main road and create yourself a trail and then go up the mountain and then back onto the main road. I don't know.
Well, you don't have to worry about going up the mountain here in Scott County, where the highest point.
You do in Keith's mind, though. In your mind, you do have to worry about going up mountains because you go up mountains sometimes, and we have to follow you.
Well, I'm pretty sure the highest point in the county is the overpass. Over it. No, that's not true. There are some hills in the northern part of the county, but
it's
down
still
here
flat.
where we are, no, the northern part of the county is not flat, but the southern part is incredibly flat.
Anyway, where are you going with it, Keith?
Was I talking?
You were talking.
Oh, I was. What was I talking about?
You were talking about
if
something about flat, something that looks like a pancake, I think.
Like a pancake?
You say flat, no? I mean, a pancake. I mean,
you're saying some mysterious stuff today, Pablo.
Do we, for lack of a better term, target those individuals in evangelism that we think are going to be like we are?
my mind goes back to the conversation that we had with Spencer on this program a few weeks ago about how we relate better to people that are like us, and how we are more apt, because we relate to those people, to evangelize to those people. And you are right, Keith. There is a point when that becomes more like recruiting. We're recruiting people who we think is going to be like us and who's going to do the same things as us, instead of actually evangelizing, and not just focusing on one demographic of people, but also focusing on all demographics of people, because we are told to go into all the world and preach the gospel. And sometimes I think we do focus on one demographic of people. And I think one of the great things that makes the church so unique is the fact that there are people from all walks of life within the church. There are people who were raised in a wealthy family. There are people who were raised in a poor family. There are people who are middle class. There are men, there are women, we just have a variety of people who are different in their own respect, but become united when it comes to the body of Christ. And I think that's one of the great things that makes the church unique, is the uniqueness of those who are members of the church. No one has anything to say.
Are you done? Well, we were waiting for you to take a breath.
Sorry.
Let me jump trains of thought for just a second, and this is turning into a rambling.
That's okay. Our listeners love a good ramble.
Do they? Do they? But okay, so then we stop and we think about the ones who are in the church, and we have that old saying that 80% of the work or 90% of the work is done by 10% of the people.
Yeah, it's been going around for years.
Yes, Pablo, is that the way that it is in Peru?
A small amount of people do all the work. Is that how it works in the congregations?
Sí.
Okay.
Sí.
You look at the book of Acts and you find Paul associated with a number of individuals, starting out with Barnabas. And when you look at Barnabas was really the one who recruited Paul. Instead of Paul recruiting Barnabas, but then Paul sort of shifts to the front, and then you find Paul and Barnabas on the first missionary journey with John Mark, and John Mark turns back, and then when they begin the second missionary journey, John Mark is not permitted to go with them, and Paul and Barnabas end up parting ways. Where did Silas come from? No, we don't know, do we? But Paul obviously saw something in Silas. And Timothy, we know a little bit more about his background and how he came to be with Paul. But then there are other individuals as well. Epaphroditus comes to mind. And then you have the individuals such as Aquila and Priscilla, and you have all of these individuals that are named there in the book of Acts. What was it about those individuals? I'm going to qualify this statement here in just a second, but what was it about those individuals that got their name in sacred history? And now here's the qualifying statement. The objective of effective Christianity is not to have everybody know your name. That's not what the objective is supposed to be. And I would dare say there are some who have forgotten that, but that's not what we're supposed to be about. But there was something about those individuals that stood out. Now, here's where I'm going with this, because we're like on one of those interchanges on the interstate where, you know, you're turning circles 3 times before you finally get on the road that you know, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We have in all of our congregations, we have individuals who have extremely diverse talents that are being underutilized.
100% correct. And I'm kind of like you, Keith, when I look at people from time to time, I know people personally that are not members of the church, and I look at the qualities that they possessed, and sometimes I'll look at the talents that they have, and I'm like, you know what? The church could use someone like that. And I try to think of ways that I can reach that person. I try to think of ways that I can evangelize to them effectively and do it in basically. And you look at
that's what you're doing though. If you look at that individual and say, we would benefit from their skills, their abilities, their talents, you're recruiting.
Right. But you also have to see, you have to know the value of their soul and know the purpose that you have as a Christian. And a lot of times I will oftentimes find myself looking at their talents. I'll think, you know what, that guy is really, really good at encouraging, and the church needs more encouragers. But then I look at people.
Where we should be starting, though, is looking at that individual and saying they need the gospel of Christ.
Oh, 100%. And that's where I find myself being wrong. And when you mentioned evangelizing versus recruiting, I started to think about that. But then I also think about how you said, you know, a lot of people's unique talents are being underutilized in the church. And a lot of times I think it's because, and we've said this on multiple occasions, I think before, it's because people don't feel like their talents are important. They feel like their talents have no value. And sometimes people will even look at someone who they may not be a good public speaker. They may not be good at doing things that are in the limelight. They may be better at doing things that are kind of, you know, down in the dirty stuff. They're good at building. They're good at keeping up the grounds and things of that sort. And maybe they're good at that and not good at the things where you're up front in front of the body of Christ every single Sunday, preaching a sermon or saying a prayer or leading our minds in the table of the Lord. But you think about those things, and how many times have we focused on what people are good at, and how many times have we only focused on things that are going to be visible and not things that are not going to be visible? And how many times have we utilized those people who don't have visible talents?
Zach, I'm going to pick on you for a second here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just because with your husband face, you make such a good target. When you began recording radio spots for the radio station there at Paintsville, and you know, we had people coming up to us going, who was that? They were hearing it on the radio, and we're like, well, that was Zach. That Zach?
Yeah.
The Zach that nobody has ever heard say a word?
Yeah.
Okay, so and you know, we know the story of how you came to be doing that, with one of the elders coming to you and you know, asking you to if you would be interested in doing that. But would you be where you are now had not someone sought you out and encouraged you?
No. I would not.
Neither.
I can honestly say I would not be, because nobody would have. I wouldn't have taken the initiative to do anything.
So here's the point that I'm trying to make. Who is in your congregation that needs that encouragement?
Right.
Because if we are waiting for those people, and we may look at them and we may see that they have talents, and we may be able to envision what we think that they are capable of doing and capable of accomplishing. But if we are waiting for them to step forward and say, I think I can do this, we're going to be waiting a while.
We'll be waiting a very long time. And you know how it's so exciting to think about just how much untapped potential or untapped talents that you have in the church that people don't often realize, they don't recognize, and how are those things going to become, how are those things going to come to fruition unless we, like you said, Keith, seek those people out, introduce them to different things, get them involved, and make them feel more comfortable to where they utilize their talents to the best of their ability.
Well, look at it in this sense. Look at it like a gold mine. You may have had some land assayed, surveyed. You know, you may know that the gold is there in the ground. You may know, you may have a good idea of what the value of that gold is, and you've got $20 in your pocket. You've got a wealth of resources, but that's all they are at this point, is resources. And I think a lot of times within our congregations, when it comes down to when we start looking at what we could do or what we would like to do, that sometimes what we're doing is counting what's in our pockets and not valuing the resources that are there.
Right.
Hey, that was actually a pretty good analogy.
That was good. I like that analogy, Keith. I may use that analogy one day. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Pablo, do you have any stories from your congregations in Peru where you guys have, kind of sought someone out, and because you sought someone out, they excelled in something and just have absolutely done a great job for the church there in Peru? G-Pros?
No. He's pensive again.
What's he so pensive today? Okay, go ahead, Pablo.
Now he's froze.
No. When I was in a sected a preaching school at first, I thought that everything was done. I was young. I used to get discouraged very, very easily. And then there was a brother from the church that came to me, and he said this, and we'll never forget. If you get to church because of Christ, you cannot leave the church because a man, no? Or because man. Because, and that to me, that was the breaking point, to continue with my calling to be a Christian, or just come back to other stuff. So this was a brother, Jesus Lazaro.
That is a fantastic topic which we need to pursue more at some point in the future.
Maybe next week.
We're down to like 30 seconds or so before we've got to sign off. But you know what? I want to say thank you to all of you who are such valuable resources to the Lord's church. And I want to encourage you to see the value in others and provide encouragement to them, because they may have resources that the church needs that you can't provide. So we got to get off of here. Thank you very much for listening today, watching our program if you are, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.